Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we'll start this Bava Metzia Daf Kuf Yud Gimel. We are going to begin on Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph by the new Mishnah. It says the Masnisin, 10 lines from the top. Hamalves Chaveroi. So someone who is borrowing money from his friend, and Rashi says Vihigias man v'loi paroloi, and he was supposed to pay him up. Let's say he gave him a month to pay, and the month came and went. He didn't pay him. So lo Yimashkenenu el Beistin. In order to be able to take a mashkon since he didn't pay, to be able to take some item that has value from this lova, you're not allowed to do this except unless you're in front of Beistin. Now Rashi says afil b'shuk, even if let's say you met him in the marketplace, namely you didn't physically go into his house and grab it out of his house. That apparently is clear you can't do. But even if you would just happen to chance upon him in the marketplace, that's also not allowed. Furthermore, the Mishnah says, which seems to be obvious, and the Gemara is going to explain exactly who's this referring to. But Pashut, we're assuming that's talking about the Malva, that he cannot go into the guy's house. Remember, b'chutz tamoid. In order to be able to take the mashkon, you have to be on the outside. Because it's a little bit difficult to understand the Mishnah. We're going to see the Gemara is going to explain it. Because if we said you could only do it b'beistin, so what does that mean, b'chutz tamoid? It's mashma, you don't have to be b'beistin. Okay. Let's say the loiva has two kalim, and the chayiv that he owes is actually connected both of these things. So because of that, we say at least noitel echad meniach echad. You should take one, but you have to leave one. Umakser sakar b'layla, and you have to return the pillow at night. Again, this is a poor person. How's he going to sleep without a pillow? So if you take his pillow from him during the day, you have to return it at night. If you take his plow, you have to keep giving his plow back so he can use it during the day, which you can understand the headache involved that you have a mashkoin, but because it has utility, you can only use it or take it from him during the time when he doesn't have the utility, which is a stressor for the malva. But the idea, I guess, also the loiva recognizes that he's losing something which he does need, and he may be filled with stress and nervousness whether or not he's actually going to get it back on time for his sleeping or for his work. The imes. Now, what happens if this lova dies? Eino makser liyarshiv. Let's say he's holding on to this pillow. He has no chiyav anymore or a plow to give it back. Says Rashi, Eliam charena. He could sell this item. V'yigva chayvo, and that's how he can collect his chov with this item. The hashiv teshivim loy ksiv loy liyarshiv. When it says you're supposed to return the mashkin to this person for his use, that's only him, the loiva, which is mashma, based on this diuk in the pasuk of lo, is excluding his inheritors. Shemigmuel concludes, and he says, Afal atzma eno machzer el ad shloishim yoim. Even for the loiva himself, this notion of having to keep giving it back is only within 30 days. Afterwards, you could sell it in Beistin. Okay, Gemara is going to elaborate on every piece of this Mishnah. So let's see the Gemara. Omer Shmuel, Shliach Beistin. So let's say you have someone who is a Shliach Beistin. So Menatach Netuche in. So if the Shliach Beistin grabs away the mashkon outside of the guy's house, that's what's allowed. Avol mashkune loy. However, he cannot go and take it from his house. Says Rashi, Afu in Rishay. So the whole allowance of a mashkan being taken at all is only by the shliach beistin, according to this pshat. And when he takes it, he can only take it outside of his house, but he cannot go in the house. Vatanan, but we learned in our Mishnah, Hamavis chaveroi. It says that you, the malva, cannot grab it away, which is mashma that the Beis-Din and the Shliach Beis-Din could do that. It was mashma the Shliach Beis-Din should be able to go into the guy's house. So Amalei Shmuel, Ema, you should actually read a little bit differently and say Lo Yenat Chenu El Bebeistin. It cannot be taken away except in Beis Din. And therefore, again, what we're reading is that it's Davka the Shliach Beis Din who has the ability to take it, and they cannot go into your house. Hachinam Mistaber, the Ketani Seifa. This is Lichanos Beis, Litel Mashkanai. Says, don't go into the house. Who is that? Who said the difficulty, if we're talking about the Baal Chayv, the Malva, so Mereisha Shmamina, we already know he can't go in the house, because it says he can't even collect it from Mashka in the marketplace. So what does it mean, don't go in the house? El Lav Shliach Beis Din. The Chiddush is that even though we allow the Shliach Beis Din to take it, but that doesn't give the Shliach Beis Din the right to go into the house. That's what the Mishnah is telling us. So, Imishim Ha area. If you want to say that's a proof, that's not necessarily a proof, because Hachakamer, this is maybe what the Mishnah is saying. Hamalvis Chavero, if you lend money to your friend and he doesn't pay you back, Loyim Shechanenu El Beis Din. So again, the mashkin can only be collected bebeis din. B'chlal the bebeis din mimashkinin, which is mashma that the beis din can actually grab it away. Ubal chayiv afil netuchin nami lo shlichanos habeis litoi mashkainai. So it's coming to tell you that maybe the beis din could go into the house, but the bal chayiv we say can't even take it away even in the marketplace, even though technically maybe that should be allowed. But the reason why we say not, because we don't want, once the Malva, the Baal Chayiv can take it from him in the shuk, then maybe he's going to end up going into the guy's house too. And therefore maybe that is the pshat. Okay, so again, according to what we're saying in this first pshat in the Mishnah, explanation is Dafka the Shliach Beis Din has the ability to take the mashkain, not the Baal Chayiv, and even the Shliach Beis Din has no right to go into the house. Meis of Rav Yosef, the pasuk says, now you're not allowed to take the millstone or the upper part of the mill, hadavar macherim chavol, which is mashma. That's the only thing that cannot be taken. Everything else is allowed. And the pasuk also says, sachbo beged mana. They are not allowed to take the garment of a widow, which is mashma hashel acherim tachaboil. If the person is not a widow, then you could take their garments. Other garments are allowed. So, who is the author of the diuk of these two psukim? Name Baal Chayiv. Who are we talking about? Name Baal Chayiv, the Malva has the ability to do this. Haksivu Savuel Beisol Avadavoto. It already says that he can't take it, right? So it can't be that there's certain things that can be taken and can't be taken. It says clearly that he's not allowed to take. So Haksiv Savuel Beisol Avadavoto Elav Shliach Beis Din. So we're talking about the Shliach Beis Din. We see the Shliach Beis Din could go into the house. So Tirgum Rav Papa, so that's the reason why it's a kasha. It's just saying don't go. The regular guy can't go in, the Baal Chayiv. However, the Shliach Beis Din is allowed to go in. And that's what Rashi says. My love around the Shliach Beis Din chulu lihi chanis b'soich beiso. V'achikamer v'isha hu Shliach Beis Din the to noishel boy yoytze alecha. So Tigam Rav Papa Bereid Rav Nachman committed Rav Yosef, and Yermala some say it was Rav Papa Bereid Rav Yosef committed Rav Yosef. L'oyelim b'Baal Chayiv. Rather, the whole psukim we're talking about Baal Chayiv. So what do you mean if it's talking about a Baal Chayiv? He's not allowed to do it anyway, because we already have another pasuk that says Lo Savul Beisoy. So V'Lavulav B'Shnei Lavin. Maybe we're only talking about the Baal Chayiv, and it's Lavulav B'Shnei Lavin, but it doesn't really have any raya regarding a Shliach Beis Din, and maybe when it comes to a Shliach Beis Din, we do not allow him into the house, as we said. Tashma. Mimash Mishnah, the pasuk already says B'chutz Tamo, you don't go inside in the house, rather you have to stay on the outside, and he'll bring it out to you. En Yodia She'isha Shirata Noishabo Yoitzi. Isn't it not obvious that he will bring it out to you? What is that coming to include? Must be around a Shliach Beis Din. It's coming to include even a Shliach Beis Din is not allowed to go in the house. So my love, Shliach Beis Din Kaleiva. That maybe we're going to say that Shliach Beis Din has the same din like the Leiva. That the Shliach Beis Din can go into the house, just like obviously the Leiva, it's his house. So, and he can bring, like the Leiva can go and bring it out to the Malva. so he could go in as well. So maybe that's what it's coming to tell us. Ish, who is this Ish? It's including the Shlech Beis Din that he's allowed to go into the house and to take it. Maybe that's what the riboy is. More answers on Kuf Yud Gimel and Beis. That's not necessarily the case. Lo, Shlech Beis Din Kamalva. The Shlech Beis Din may be like the Malva, and he's not allowed to go into the house. Tashma, Im Chabel Tach Boil Samos Reacha. B'Shlech Beis Din Akas Medaber. So this pasuk again is specifically referring to the Shlech Beis Din. To Atam Rabbi Shlech Beis Din Akas Medaber. You tell me this pasuk is talking about the Shlech Beis Din. Says Rashi Shur Shai L'Chanis L'Chayvoi, that he's allowed to go in. V'Hachi Kamer says Rashi Kra Im Chabel Tachbol Alidei Shliach Beis Din. If you take this mashkin through a Shlech Beis Din, Adbo Hashemesh Teshivenu, that has to be given back. Oh, Enu Elo Babal Chayv. Maybe it's talking about the Malva who took it. When the pasuk says you're not allowed to go into the guy's house to take the mashkin Harbal Chayv, so that's referring to the lender. That's what the pasuk is coming to tell us. So again, it seems pretty clear that you are allowed to go into the house. So Shlech Beis Din is allowed to go into the house. The answer is okay, fine. Tanoi. The truth is, we have a machokas tanoim whether or not that's the case. The Sanya Shlech Beis Din Shabol Lamashkanai Lo Yichadas Beisai Lamashkanai. It says Beferish. Even the Shlech Beis Din has the same status as the Malva, and is not allowed to go in. El Oimid Mebachutz. Even the Shlech Beis Din has to stand in the outside. V'haloi moitzilo mashkoin, and the loiva will bring out the mashkoin to him. Shnemer b'chutz tamoid v'aish. V'tani idach. Yet we learned in another brisa that bal chayv shabala mashkonoi. If you have the malva who wishes to take his mashkoin, lo yichadas l'beiso l'mashkonoi, he is not allowed to go. He is not allowed to go into the house. El oimid b'chutz, and he has to go stand on the outside. And the wolva will give it back, give him the mashkain outside. Now that's dafka, the malva can't go inside. Hitaka could go into the house to take the mashkain. However, even the Shlech Beis Din who goes inside should not take things which are oichel nefesh, things in which he needs for cooking and the like, including the millstone, that he should not do. Says Rashi, Shisrabu mechin nefeshu chayvel. V'noisin mita, you should give him a bed, umita, and a bed, matzah, not matzah eating matzah with a hay, rather like a blanket, usher, memita mita mapetz ani. For a poor person, beds and reeds. Okay. So it sounds like mita, you need two beds. What do you need two beds for? Rashi is going to explain. One is for sleeping, one is for eating. We'll see. Loi of a low ishtoi. This whole requirement is dafka for the loiva himself, but not the wife. You don't have to account for the children of the wife. Kederech shemis sadrin bilbal chayiv. So we say that just like, before we get into this, let's look at Rashi. The gabi erchin ksiv, when it comes to erchin, a person who designates to the Beis Hamikdash the worth of a person, and which totally on the age, gender. V'im mochu merkecha, and let's say he's poor. Pasuk says hacheu merkecha. Gizbor habol mashkanai. When the treasurer comes to take a mashkin from this person who made this pledge, kishein yado maseges, and he doesn't have enough, v'hu nidain b'hasagas yad, mishayir lo k'dei chayav. We have to keep by him things for him to live. V'noitel hashar, we can take everything else. V'yotzei hekdesh, etc. So these are basic necessities that a person has. So we say that we're masadrin, shomin lo haniach lo tzarech chayav, just like we evaluate by the Baal Chayiv, so that we don't take things from the love if he needs them for survival. So too, the same thing when it comes to Erechin. So Klapi Laya, what are you talking about? It sounds like we are secondarily learning about Erchin. It's the opposite. Ikr Siddur be'Erchin Ksiv. All of this is really the Ikrs went from Erchin. El Ema Kederch Shemisadrin be'Erchin Kach Misadrin be'Balchoiv. Okay. Omer Mar. Noisin mito umito matzil usher. Mito mafetzil ani. Which is the other way around. But the point we're going to illustrate here is that you need to have two beds. So maybe it's because you need a bed for yourself, one for your children. The Malva doesn't have to think about this guy's children. It's only for him. So why does he need two beds for? So talk to Lam. Why does he need two beds? One is to eat and one is to sleep on. Why can't you just eat where you sleep? Or sleep where you eat. I know the cure for basically everything under the sun, except for three things. Man de achol ahina mirira aliba rekana, a person who eats bitter dates in an empty stomach. Apparently that before you eat, you shouldn't be eating these types of dates. It's going to really mess you up. Uman de asar misna de kitsna retiva achartse, a person who wraps up moist linen ropes around his waist. Rashi doesn't really explain that, but that's also not a good one. And this is the key one here, that if you eat and then you just pass out and go to sleep right away, it's not good. It's better to go for a walk right after you finish eating. Says Rashi, before you go to sleep, there's a second bed, we put the bed a little bit away from where you're eating. You'll have no choice. You're going to get up to stand up. To get up to go to sleep. Better not to sleep where you ate. So clearly it's an interesting, it only says 4 amos, but as we know, a person shouldn't just eat a huge meal and go right to sleep. That's not necessarily the best health situation. Tani Tanaka made the Rab Nachman. Kederech shemisadrin be'erchin kach misadrin b'balchoiv. That's the correct way. Armli hashta zivuni mizamninan lei. Says Rashi. La'achar shloshim yoyim. We said after 30 days we're going to sell the thing. Av kelim hatzrichim lo, even the things that he needs, because according to Will he says mishlosh mahal and meichron. So if we're selling the thing anyway, siduri misadrinan lei. What does that mean? We're going to try to figure out what he needs. Doesn't sound like we really care about what he needs. After 30 days, we're going to sell it all anyway. So the Gemara says, 1 second. Mi mizamninan lei. Do we really sell his things? But none. Maser es hakar b'layla ves hamacharesh b'yoyim. It's not true. You have to give him the pillow at night. You got to give him the plow during the day to work with. So what do you mean? We're not sensitive. We just sell it. We don't sell it. So Tana, as I said, according to Rabbi Shmuel, after 30 days. So the question is, according to him, it's hard to understand. Why do we really care about being Masada? Oh, what is the thing he needs? What doesn't he need? We sell it eventually after 30 days anyway. So Tanaka maybe halchin kamelei. Hashtel Rabbi Shmuel. According to Rabbi Shmuel, Zabunim Mazamdin le Sedur Masadrin le. Okay, did not. Rabbi Shmuel Oimer Afal Atzmei in a Maxer. El Ad Shleshim Yoyim. We're only going to keep giving it to him within the 30 days. We'll sell it. How do we know that when he says to sell means completely? It means like this. Within the 30 days, you have to give it back as is. Afterwards, you give it back what he needs. And then basically you can sell the difference. So now, if he actually holds like this, that doesn't mean you sell the whole thing. But let's see, he has a $2,000 pillow, right? So not a great example. Okay, but let's pretend, and you could sell it, and you can buy him a pillow for a few dollars. So then, okay, so at least you get to keep some of them. So lake immediately chazile, but according to Wheel, it's not true, because there's even a precious item which you would think is above and beyond that of a simple person who can't pay his debts. even that, according to Rabbi says, is needed. Tikam Rabbi, the Rabbi, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, Kul Sreilhu, Kol Yisrael b'nei Malachim hein. Certainly, in the eyes of one's mother, every mother views their children as kings and queens. And this is actually what the Gemara says. Rabbi Shmuel did not. Loyas haluf ves loyas achardol. So, there's a question on Shabbos. What is to be done regarding something which is not fit? So there could be an issue regarding legumes and mustard. He allows these legumes, this type of food, because even though maybe you won't eat it, but it is something in which a person will feed their ravens. Now, who on earth owns ravens? Says Rashi, V'Yisrael b'nei Malachim, v'yeshim l'gadol orvim l'noi l'schoik. And they used to have ravens for beauty and for sport. And it was only b'nei Malachim that would actually have these things. So therefore, even though you would think maybe it's not something which is really fit, because you can't cook on Shabbos, you can't grind them, and again, it's some type of a legume, so they're not really fit to eat while they're raw, even for birds, but apparently ravens could eat them, and therefore you could move them. They're not considered to be muksa. Rabbi Shimon did not. B'nei Malachim sachin Shimon vered al gabi makosem b'Shabbos shechen darchen lasuch b'choil. Rabbi Shimon Omer. Okay. Rabbi Shimon Omer kol yisol b'nei Malachim heim. So he says, kings can smear themselves with this vered oil, this rose oil, on their wounds on Shabbos, because that was what they would do during the week, which is mashma only b'nei Malachim, but not a regular person. And that's what they would do if there was no makkah. That's what they would do. So therefore, we allow it. And the whole idea is because we don't want you to have an idea that it looks like you're doing it for refuah. But if it was done anyway, stam, just for beauty, so then on Shabbos, if you have a makkah, it's not going to be muchamilsa that you're doing it for refuah. Because as Rashi says, there's an isser of shichas simonim, like grinding the herbs with a mortar and pestle, and therefore because of that we have different isurim regarding medications. But if it's something that a person would use anyway, stam, without a wound, so then it's allowed on Shabbos. But on this, Rabbi Shimon Omer kol yisol b'nei Malachim hein, which means that any yid potentially would use this shemen vered, and therefore it's mutter on Shabbos. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva the Sanyur, Hari Shahaya Noishin Boy Elav Zuz, Volobush Itztala, which is really mark situation here. So you have a guy who owes you $1,000, and he's wearing this very, very fancy coat, Bas Me'amana. So Mavshita Noisa Mimenu, we take it off of him, Umalbisha Noiso Itztalan, and that's it. Haroylo, we give him something which is fit for him. In other words, why should he be wearing a $10,000 mink? Let's sell it and have him wear some members only jacket or something. So why would that be? Because why not? He doesn't need to wear this fancy thing. He needs to pay his debts. The Tana Bisham Rabbi Shmuel, the Tana Bisham Rabbi Kiva, Kol Yisrael ruin loisa itztala, and therefore you don't have a right to be able to just take it off this guy's jacket. So therefore, body. So therefore, it's the same thing. When Hashem Gamil said his din, it can't be that he's coming to tell you that you can sell it and then buy him something of a lower level, because Kol Yisrael b'nei Malachim heim. Okay, let's look at question 6, and we're actually going to go backwards for question 5. My nafkamino in Shabbos b'hadi amrin Kol Yisrael b'nei Malachim heim. Again, so first of all, when it comes to bimatalto luf, which is this kitnius, this legume, mishum meichel arevim, it's food fit for ravens. The Kol Yisrael ruin legadol orvin l'noa schoik, and any yid can raise ravens. And secondly, it's mutter to smear shemen vered on your wound, because all Yisrael are fit to do this also on the weekday, and therefore it's not muchamilsa that was done for refuah. Okay, so l'mayda salka daitan. What was our havim in the mikara? Diyoivle, mayda chayzle, that you should give him what's fit. Umazdavdinan mayda loy chazile. Bishul mekarva kases chazile dibeni veni. It's possible you could sell a very nice quilt and blankets and very expensive pillows and get something cheaper. El macharesho maichazi. I don't understand. If you sell a plow, so he needs the plow. So what's the havamina? Rabba baraba macharesha tikaspa. We're talking about a silver plow. It's some high-end, expensive plow. So that could be sold and you can get a cheaper one. Maskavrav chaga v'lemule lav olai karamis. Couldn't he not say, is it not upon me to support you? So this is what the Malva could say. It's not my obligation to have to support you. So what exactly is going on over here? So Omar Abaye, as we continue Kuf Yadalam Aleph, Ivra. The truth is, Ale Karami. Says Rashi, Sheilot Tzedakah. That Mishum Shnemer L'Chatiyat Tzedakah. Sheilot Tzedakah Shekasav Hetel of Atlasos Tzedakah L'Halachafanav. Itaka is an element of a form of tzedakah, what you're doing, as the malva, and therefore that is what you should be doing. Okay, question, we're going to stop there. Question 5. So, how do we answer the seifa that says you can't enter into the house? Who is that referring to? So either it's the seifa is talking about the shleich beistin, even the shleich beistin is not allowed to enter the house. Or it's just telling you that really the shleich beistin is allowed to enter the house, and it's chasur metzia, and telling you that when it comes to the bal choiv or the malva, he cannot even collect outside of the house in the shuk, because we're geyser, because if he does that, he may end up also collecting going in the house, which is certainly not allowed. TA 9. Lamli kro yachbol rechaim v'rechev. So why is it? Why do we have this pasuk? So Avrula Mishnei Lavin. Okay, let's make sure we get this. If it's talking about that both psukim are talking about the Bal Choiv, so it's Avrula Mishnei Lavin. Alternatively, the Chiddush is talking about the Shlech Beistin. So it's possible that we could be talking about the shleich beistin, and we see the shleich beistin actually could go into the house, okay, which is the whole question. Can the shleich beistin go into the house? Or maybe we're talking about the bal choiv cannot go into the house. It's lavo of mishnei lavin. Okay. Let's see if there's another question here. Okay. Question TB 10. Shmuel Omer Afal Atzme Edo Maxer Ella Ad Shloishim Yomi Shloishim Yomi Mohalan Moichem Bebeistin Maharaya the Mochen Legamri Karm must be completely Velesle the Mahadule Madachazile sell what's fit for him. I wrote Mibnei She Rabbi Shemagamaliel Savar Koyso Bani Malachim Haim Oz and Shaykh Loimer Sheish Devarim Shehu Loit Sarach. Neshut Sarach Kol Hadavarim Sheish Lo Bebeisai Adkan.